Hello and welcome to WriterSpeak, a program dedicated to the written word and those who produce it. I'm your host, Jeane Slone. I have written 2 historical fictions, She Flew Bombers and She Built Ships during World War II. I also distribute books locally in Sonoma County. Today in the studio, I would like to welcome Molly Apple and Joe Dunn. Welcome.
Thanks, Jeane.
Hi, Jeane.
Nice to be here.
And we are going to be talking about your successful, widely distributed book, The Soulmate Experience, a practical guide creating extraordinary relationships. And that title, I think, really has wanted people to be reading your book. I think people are very much attracted to the word soulmate. Have you found that to be so?
Yeah, we did choose it for that reason, because people tend to use it to mean a deeply connected relationship, and it seemed to be getting more and more popular as we, looked through the web, and there were many dating sites that came with that term, and people are using it to mean a deeply connected relationship, which is what we're writing about.
That's a very nice way of explaining the word, that it's a deep relationship.
I think that's the way that it's used, popularly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And this book has since won quite a few awards. Can you tell me what awards that the book has been chosen for?
Just 2, actually.
Let's see, one was
two is more than one.
But one was a Living Now award, where we
Living
got
Now.
a silver medal.
Books for Better Living, and Gold International Book Awards, for both of them in the relationships category.
Well, congratulations on winning those awards. I know it's always a big surprise and a happy feeling when that does occur.
It is.
I am very interested in what your educational and professional background is. Molly, if you could tell us.
Well, in terms of what relates to writing this book, I've been a student of spirituality, since I was about 9. I mean, I had lots and lots of sort of psychic experience from when I was very, very young, and when I turned 9, I found the section in the library that dealt with all of that stuff, and I started reading everything, and I would take one book right in line, one after the next, and I never stopped studying since that time. And I had my own spiritual group for a number of years in Sebastopol, and we met weekly, and a fabulous place for me to explore all those ideas and get other people's take. And I started taking notes during those sessions, and that turned into really sort of the outline for this book. But it wasn't until I met Joe that it really all came together.
And Joe, what inspired you to write this book?
Well, meeting Molly primarily, but about 20 years ago I'd taken a course from a local man in Santa Rosa, a man and his wife. They were way ahead of their time in terms of relationships, and it really opened my eyes in terms of what was possible in relationships. And although much of that information lay dormant for many, many years, it was right there on the surface, and when I met Molly, it all started to come back out again in our conversations.
I'm really curious, what was it like as a couple to be writing a book together? And what were the negatives of that experience and the positives, if there were any negatives?
Yeah, I don't think there were any negatives. It was a really connecting experience. I mean, what we discovered during this whole process of writing a book is that, to have an incredible relationship, you have to do nothing more than to explore what it takes to have a great relationship. And that's what we were doing in the process of writing this book.
I think it took us a while to find our voice together. And once we did that, it took about a year. And the process we use is we have conversations about all of these topics, whether it's resentments or jealousy or expectations or infidelity, any topic that has to do with relationships. And we come at it from all these different angles, particularly the spiritual angle, but we do a lot of interviewing of people. But we have extensive conversations that we actually record. And then I take those recordings and I write the draft of whatever the piece is, the chapter or the section. And then we come together and read it together. And
yeah, it's a great process. It really, we seem to find this great balance in terms of how we do it.
That is really different to be recording. And
yes, yes. And I think Joe's voice comes at that stage when we're reading what I've written. He comes out with all these beautiful turns of phrase and sentences and just ways of saying things that I don't, he's more like a poet in that way, and I'm more of a college professor.
A scientist.
Yeah, and I get it all down in order, but it's not very fun to read, and he comes and he makes it flow.
That's a great combination. That's like an author and an editor.
No, I was an editor. You know, I was 20 plus years in the nonfiction editing, book editing business. So
you probably had it in your mind that you wanted to eventually write a book, but
all editors do.
Yeah. I guess Joe inspired you to do that. So a lot of the book is based upon interviews. And how did you find people to interview for this book?
Gosh, we found them everywhere. Right? We actually spent a long time working on a book at a restaurant called Cafe Gratitude. And they had a great space with couches where people would come and sit next to us, and we'd just pick up the voice recorder and say, hey, would you be willing to be interviewed? And that was a great resource for interviews.
It was, whether they were employees or people coming to dine there, people in that restaurant were just really open with sharing, you know, their experiences and their stories. And we're willing to take an idea that we'd suggest for them to work in a particular situation, go off and try it and come back and report to us. How did that work? So yeah, we've got dozens and dozens of people's stories in the book because of that.
I think it's good for people to know that I've been to Cafe Gratitude. It is so unusual. There's 3, I think, Cafe Gratitudes. And it's such an unusual restaurant. I think it's good to tell people that when you're being waited on, the wait person, I know there's a special word they use now, always said, and what are you grateful for? This is what they always ask.
Right.
So you really are interviewing groups of people who are maybe relaxed and also have been thinking about what they're going to say. And how unusual is that, to go to a restaurant with that experience?
Right.
That was really brilliant to go there. Were you specifically thinking of that restaurant for that reason, or did it just happen?
We like the food.
We liked the food, and at the time it was a block down the street.
Oh,
so,
because when you think about it, that is so ideal. I had no idea that's...
Well, we also have to give credit to many, many, many nights spent in a tapas bar.
That's
not topless.
True.
Tapas. Spanish wines. And the people there were pretty willing to answer some questions too. So I think it's, as we got more comfortable with this, you know, we're just willing to ask somebody anything. And when you have that sort of attitude, people are willing to open up and say, okay, well, I'll share my experience with you. And
that's pretty amazing, because it is very intimate interviewing.
Right.
Yeah. I've been curious as to why you wrote the book to begin with.
That's easy. We had been in a relationship for, what, 4 years? About 4 years. And we realized that we had this incredible connection. We had not had a fight or a harsh word between us for 4 years. And we came to the conclusion that we could either continue to have this relationship, or we could dissect it and write about what it takes to have a relationship like the kind we had. So that's what we decided to do.
Mm-hmm.
Besides the fact that Molly, being an editor for 20 plus years, had a book burning inside her.
Yeah, how ideal.
And now we have this book. Actually, when we had a review group that reviewed every chapter, and near the end of the process, we realized we had way too many chapters, and we're doing a sequel to this, and a third one in the series. So we're going to keep going with this process of dissection.
Right, and interviews and.
Yeah.
In your book, you mentioned that it is not just a relationship book, that it is learning how to keep the magic alive.
Right.
Can you share with us one or two secrets? And particularly if a person has been in a relationship for a long time, how do they keep the magic alive? And I know that you have interviewed long-term couples.
And that it really is the most challenging. Obviously, it's easier to implement many of these things in a new relationship because so much of what we're talking about is how to keep resentments from building up, how to keep expectations from, bringing a pall over things. So if you're in a situation where lots and lots of time has gone by and there's lots that built up, it's a little bit different. But one thing to know is that one person can make a difference in their own lives, even when the partner's not yet interested. So even one person looking at their contribution to what's gone on and we have a chapter called Reducing Your Baggage. So even one person looking at everything they've brought and their responsibility in it and beginning to clean that up will begin to shift things.
Right.
And what do you mean by reducing your baggage?
Well, most of us, almost all of us, come into a relationship with some sort of baggage from the past, whether it's previous relationships that didn't work out. I mean, some people might consider kids that you bring into a new relationship as baggage. I mean, there's a whole list of things that we could term baggage in a relationship.
It's good for people to understand that term, I think.
Yeah.
We really use it to mean anything that has the potential to get in the way of you having a very clear, loving, open space in your relationship. As what is that's in there that's in the way.
What would be another method of keeping a long-term relationship magically alive?
Well, probably we've got a chapter called Exploring the Edges, and that basically talks about doing anything together that might make you nervous, uncomfortable, embarrassed, but doing it with your partner so that you have a safe partner to explore with, and to really sort of push the envelope in your relationship to the point where you do find yourself, maybe frightened or embarrassed. Like let's say you'd never been to a clothing optional spa, right? That would be something that might push the edges of the relationship, guaranteed to bring up some stuff for you and give you some opportunities to work with something new and exciting.
So the idea is to go into something like that together with the intention of supporting each other in whatever comes up, as opposed to staying at home and doing your everyday thing that you always do, is to put yourself into a little bit of a situation that brings up some fears, because when you support each other through something fearful, you feel this closeness that you didn't feel before when you were just at home watching television together. So, anything that you can do that's new, even if it's exploring, what your partner's into, things that you might have, poo-pooed and not gone the distance to try to check it out. Like if Joe was into camping and I said, I never go camping, is to say, step out there and say, I want to go camping with you once. Take me, show me what it's about, show me what you love about it, and to allow yourself to be open to something that they're passionate about.
Those are two very different and unique ideas. I think it's good for people to understand what they can do to renew their relationship, and that's what's handy about your book, is to get those new ideas. And I guess what you're saying is to keep dialoguing about what would be new in your relationship.
And there's always something.
Oh yeah, and sometimes just dialoguing about it can bring up enough stuff, you know, fears or excitement to make a shift in a relationship.
You have a very extensive blog. It's almost like reading a book. I was pretty amazed by it. I was wondering if that's something that you both work on, or just one person is doing.
Are you talking about our Facebook community? We've got 61,000
Yes, I
members.
was going to mention that. I was so amazed that 61,000 people are reading all about the Soulmate Experience.
Yeah, not only reading it, but putting it into practice in many cases.
Yeah, we hear from people every day that are actually using the ideas not only that are in this book, but that we put out on the Facebook page every day. And they'll maybe read it in the morning and go try that out. You know, it's just a simple, we'll just put out a simple idea. You know, for instance, if somebody compliments you this week, really take in what they said and find its truth in you. And so they'll go, okay, we'll go try this. And we hear back from them. And I manage the page, but we come up with all of the ideas together again in these extensive conversations that seem to never end.
Yeah, it seems like it's almost like writing a book, tackling such a project like that when you're getting such a huge response.
Yeah.
You know, I actually started it when we were writing this book, and there was so much material that we weren't going to use in here. I started putting it out on Facebook, the things that we didn't use in here. So that's how it started.
That's great.
Yeah.
I was wondering, what has been the most exciting event that occurred in your life in interviewing, like a person or a couple that you just were so astonished by and you know, enhanced the book? I know you can't disclose names, but I was really curious as to what that couple or person was like that was the most outstanding.
Something come to your mind?
Nothing on the top of my head.
You know, I have to say, the most astounding things have been since the book was written, because we hear from people almost daily that have read this book, that have put it into practice, that were either single when they started or were in a relationship when they started. And we'll hear, you know, this totally changed the way I approach relationships. I went out to find a partner the way that you suggest to in here, and I'm in this incredible relationship unlike anything I've been in before. And getting those notes, that's almost a daily occurrence now, and that really is still astounding to me, that we followed our heart and put this book out that felt like it was meant to be for us, and that it's actually doing that kind of work in the world.
Yeah.
I'd really like you to share your story of how you met each other. And I did read about it, but I just thought it was, you know, funny and cute. So if you could repeat that story, it would be interesting for everybody to hear.
Sure. Well, we met online. We met on Craigslist.
But not just regular online, on Craigslist.
Right. And I think for us it was perfect, you know, to not go through one of the dating sites, right, that they want you to fill out a long list of things about yourself and your interests and, you know, what you want and your education and all that. That wasn't going to work for us. Well, you're better at telling this part of the story than I am.
Yeah, because I mean, I couldn't have filled out a form at a dating site, because all of the things they want to know are not important to me. I mean, and that's one of the things that we go so deeply into our book, is that heart-to-heart, soul-to-soul connection. It doesn't matter what your education is, what your hair looks like, how old you are, what your interests are. The idea that you have to have matching interests doesn't even make sense to me, because if we have different interests, for instance, Joe was a champion swimmer when I met him, and he's taught me, and I've learned how to swim, and now we swim together. We didn't come into the relationship with the matching interests, but then we have something to share. So going through Craigslist where there's no form and no pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't exchange pictures at all. Right?
No, we had a dialogue that went on for weeks with no photographs, because that just was not relevant to me.
Well, it's always made me wonder, because you do hear the expression opposites attract. But all the dating sites, it's like they're trying to match up, oh, well, if you like swimming, then you need to be with somebody who swims, you know. But I really appreciate you explaining how the differences are pretty important.
And I asked you if you wanted to do pictures, because I was willing if you wanted to, and you were cool about it.
Yeah.
You know, was willing to go on faith, and yeah.
And it's a great thing that we didn't do pictures, because at the time, you know, I had a short list of requirements for a partner, and you know, redheads were not on my list. So, you know, I think, God forbid we had exchanged pictures, and based on that old list that I had, you know, it wouldn't have gone any further. It may not have gone any further. Right? I may have said, oh, redhead, I'm not attracted to redheads. Sorry, you can't do this. Instead, we didn't do any pictures, and we met, and, you know, we were pretty much in love right away. So, and I've totally changed my outlook on redheads. I love them.
Yeah, that's, I just love that story. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
The concept of soulmate, you try to get through that it doesn't mean one person forever and always, that you can have many soulmates. And when you first look at the book, I think if it had just been called My Soulmate or The Soulmate, but experience, that the concept that you can have many soulmates. Can you explain that a little further?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, if you study spirituality, every single aspect of spirituality, they talk about the idea that we're all one, and what does that mean? But for me, we're all aspects of the same soul, and there really aren't these two go together and these two go together. I really feel like we're all connected. And it's just a matter of how open am I to that connection with you, so we can feel it more with some people than with others. So that's why I believe we can create soulmate experiences by the way that we approach relationships, rather than having to go out and search for that one.
Yeah. It's good for people to know that.
I mean, can you imagine what it would be like if you've only got one out there and there's 7 billion people in the world?
I think a lot of people think there is only one person for me, and they just go through them looking for the one person. And
Right.
There must be only one, because nobody's finding it, right? So.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about this new MP3 download that you have.
Sure. It's called Mantras for Making Love. And we did it, well, we were working on the book, and we started to come up with these ideas.
The second book, the Soulmate Lover, which is really about taking the concepts in here to a more intimate place within a partnership. But yeah, sorry.
And these mantras started coming out of us, and we thought, wow, this would be great to do as a download for people who want to get more connected with their partner, or who want to maybe get more in touch with themselves. And
so it's about 20 minutes, the download, and they're for use in all kinds of situations. One might be that if I have something about my body that I'm uncomfortable with, that there's an affirmations that I could use myself to make myself feel more comfortable. And there's some that a partner might say to me. I mean, this is a really sort of very intimate thing to be able to say to you, one of the ones that I love that you wrote was, these lines on your face are a celebration of your life. As if I just turned 50, so that's looming large, that idea that, oh, I'm aging and all the stuff that comes with that and the insecurities that might come with that. So Joe wrote that one for me, and I love that one.
And I know that it is available on your website.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be interesting for all of us to look at that, hear that download.
Yeah.
You also have Overcoming Jealousy. That's a real hot word. A 23-day course that's online. And tell us a little bit about jealousy in the course.
It's a great course. It's we did it with a third person, and who has experienced jealousy in the past, and we talked about some of her experiences with jealousy, went through some exercises. It's really a powerful course for people who are having difficulties with jealousy.
It came out of one of the chapters in our book is transforming the energy of jealousy, and it takes you from a place of, why do I have this, to how can I actually use it in a positive way at the very end of the chapter. So the course, the 23-day course, takes a similar, but it goes more deeply into each of those. Each day is a separate lesson, and the woman who did the course does each lesson, and then we interview her on video. It's part of the course about her own experiences, and people have actually said her interviews are one of the most powerful parts of the course to them, because they can identify, oh, I'm not the only one who's having these issues.
Right.
And
I don't think there's one person who can say, I've never felt the feeling of jealousy. I think it's actually admitting it first in order to just explore it.
Yeah.
So tell us about the new book. You said will be coming out next month, did you say?
we do have one.
Yeah, it's a short book. It's an e-book, and it's called 52 Prescriptions for Happiness. And
it's a book that you'd read one piece every week, and each piece explores a different aspect of how to be happy in your life, and it gives you many ideas for how to try it out that week. We actually tried out all of these ideas with our fans, our email list, and so people have given feedback on a lot of these. And one of the fun things about this ebook is 52 different artists have contributed works to be in it. They're all visionary sort of artists, so it's visually stunning, this book.
Yeah.
Would you call it an e-workbook?
I guess you could call it an e-workbook. Mm-hmm.
It's inspirational, though.
Yeah.
I mean, the pieces that you read each week. A Year of Inspiration for the Body, Mind, and Soul is the subtitle. So each piece, just to read it, they're short, but they're very inspiring and make you think about things in your life. And people say that they change their habits instantly after reading some of these ideas. So.
Well, I would really like to thank you, Molly Apple and Joe Dunn, for joining us on WriterSpeak. And please check the website at the Community Media Center for programming of further episodes. And I would like to especially thank our sponsor, the Sonoma County Gazette.